Hey guys, welcome back. This time we're up to video number 11. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to write a function. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So here I just have a text editor open with a file name of script.py, pretty much just like last time. I've emptied it out except for the first line here. We're going to start from scratch. So what I want to do is show you why we need functions. So basically what I'm going to do is write some sample code, and then I'm going to show you how the concept of a function will enhance the readability and organization of said code. So while you're programming in any language, and this isn't just a Python thing, there's going to be a situation where you need to call the same code multiple times. How do you do that? Well, you could simply copy and paste that code however many times you need to execute that. Will that work? Well, of course it will. But that's not a very good way of doing it. One of the rules of Python is don't repeat yourself. So wait a minute, if I need to do the same thing 3 times, but I don't want to repeat myself, how exactly do I accomplish that? Well, this isn't a riddle. It's actually something that programmers run into on a very constant basis. And functions are the answer to that. So if I was to execute this code right here, it's no surprise what it's going to do. It's going to basically print the same thing twice, because essentially I'm creating some variables here, and then I am printing what those variables equal to when they're added. I'm creating them again, and then I'm adding them again and printing them the same way. So the exact same thing is happening twice. Now I don't actually need to do that. What I can do is create a function so it simplifies this process, and I can actually repeat this as many times as I want to without retyping the individual statements. So what I'm going to do is rewrite this code and then show you a better way of doing it. Okay, so I rewrote the script, and you can see that I am not actually repeating anything here. Actually, this is only going to execute it once anyway, but I'll show you in a moment. But what I'm doing is I'm defining a function called my function. And functions have parentheses. We know this because we've been using print, for example, which is also a function. And then we basically have a colon here at the very end. And then what we do is we just go to a new line and we type our first statement. Now there's going to be 4 spaces here, and that's important. You cannot mix spaces and tabs. The Python enhancement proposals recommend 4 spaces. And you want to have spaces, not tabs. So basically you want to make sure that you're consistent. So by consistent, that means if you use spaces here, you also use spaces on every line as well. If you start mixing them, you could actually have failures, and it could be very hard to find the root cause, because in an editor you can't really tell the difference between a tab and a space until you actually use your cursor and count the characters. But in this case, we actually have a function, and then I added each of those 3 lines as individual statements within the function. And then here at the end, I'm calling the function. So if I was to save this file and execute it, it's only executing it just that one time. And that's to be expected because I'm only calling the function just once. But what I could do is call it a second time, save the file, and you can see that now I'm able to duplicate the original code, but I didn't have to retype it. You could argue, of course, that typing my function twice is every bit as redundant as the previous example, and if you said that, you'd be 100% correct. There's actually better ways of repeating something or calling something more than once without actually having to explicitly call it more than once. But that's not the point I'm trying to make in this video. The point I'm trying to make in this video is what a function is and why it's important. Now, another thing that's very important as well, another benefit, is in the original example, if I wanted to change my num1, I'd have to change that every single occurrence. So let's just say I want to make that a really large number, and I want to make that a really large number, right? I don't have to update these numbers twice because I'm calling it twice, but I only have to update the numbers just that one time. So if I execute the script, we can see that I actually get the answer. In this program, I just updated these numbers, and then each time this function is called, it uses those numbers. I only needed to change those numbers just one time. Now, In the previous video, we talked about comments, and one of the things that we talked about was docstrings. Now, docstrings are very common in functions and are often preferred. So I'm going to go ahead and add a docstring to this function. All right, so I have added a docstring to our function. And basically, if you recall, it's just a multi-line comment, but we use quotes to be the delimiter here to show when it starts and when it ends. In this case, it's just a standard docstring, but one of the things you'll do with docstrings is write a little bit of documentation about what the function does. So that's why you find them commonly in functions, especially if you have one that's, a very long function. You might want to have some documentation there to let someone else looking at the code know exactly what it does. Now, you could argue that code that's written properly basically documents itself. And some people will argue that comments aren't necessary because if your code is written to be well readable and it's written in a good manner, then you're not going to need them. And I don't disagree with that. But, comments generally don't hurt anything either, and it is something that you'll commonly find. In this case, this docstring here is not useful at all. In fact, nothing about this program is useful yet. We'll get into some useful programs, I promise, after we get the basics ironed out. We'll get into some decent examples that actually will be useful. But you see here we have a docstring in our function, which is, like I mentioned, something that's very common, and you will see this as you look at actual Python code out on the web. And that's basically it. I mean, functions do get more advanced than this. We will revisit functions and learn the more advanced features, and then you'll get a full understanding of why we care about functions and why they're important to learn. But I just want to make sure that you have the foundational knowledge so far. At this point, I recommend that you just make sure you have a good handle on everything we've done so far in the series and you understand everything. I know it's just the basics and things will get more advanced as we go along. But another thing that you could consider doing as well is just look up some Python projects on GitHub, for example. And this is a great learning opportunity. And you should know enough already to identify several aspects of the code that you see in actual programs. You'll see docstrings, you'll see functions, you'll see classes. We haven't gotten into those yet, so if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But you'll see lists, you'll see variables, you'll see strings, you'll see integers. You already have a decent amount of foundational knowledge, and to help drive that home, I think it might be a good idea for you to look at actual Python scripts that are used on GitHub, and you could just go ahead and search for a few and just see if you can identify some of the things that we've learned in the series in actual real-world code. So with that said, I should have more videos in this series uploaded for you guys very soon. In the meantime, though, stay subscribed, and I will see you again. Thank you so much for watching my video, guys. I really appreciate it. If you want to help me out, go ahead and check out my sponsor and my cloud server provider, Linode. Linode now features a new and improved dashboard, their cloud manager, that makes it an absolute breeze to set up your own Linux server. They even have Arch Linux. How cool is that? And of course, they have all the staples such as CentOS, Debian, Ubuntu, Fedora, and more. And it's very easy to set up a server near you. In fact, Linode currently has 9 worldwide data centers, with 2 more set to appear this year in India and Canada. So definitely check them out, guys. I appreciate them as a sponsor. I appreciate you guys as a viewer. So thanks again for watching. Subscribe to my channel. I will have more content coming for you very soon. Stay tuned.